like, we got to figure out what's something that could get 5 votes, ideally 9, and can pass, right? And that's why it's important, like, I assume that you'll coordinate with the people who were at other aldermen's homes today and figure out what that went. I know this is being, like, recorded, so I assume, like, you can match it all up. Like, we need something that's going to work for the city and get at least 5 votes. Again, like, ideally 9, because, like, it's got to be planned out. And, like, the farther you get along, like, the last, like, percentage of this is going to be the hardest part, because that's where it becomes like boring budget stuff rather than like this, like the energy like needs to be sustained that long.
But do we have your commitment that you're going to try and defund the police?
Yeah, you have my commitment that I'm going to try and have us have the best budget we can have, and I think defunding the police is part of that.
That was not the question. That was not the question I asked.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. And I know you want to like put me on the spot at my own house because you came here to bang on pots. But here's what I'm telling you: I can say we are going to defund the police, but like that does nothing to like stop the fact that all those pensions are still due. You know, like personnel costs. But here's what I'm telling you is you can't just say, all right, we're going to cut personnel like without knowing who you can actually cut and what you can do in the context of budget money. I support it, but like it's meaningless if we don't have a mechanism to get there. That's what I'm telling you.
But what's your, like, what will you do to support it?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's the question. That's the question, right? What is achievable, right? What would be if we were like, we are going to defund the police, right? The most extreme definition of that, right? If we decided that's what we're all about, we're doing that on Tuesday, that would be like 100, right? Can we get 100? What's gettable? 70, 80? Like
so
what percentage of that?
You're committing to listen to people on Tuesday at this meeting about defunding.
That's the purpose of the meeting, and and that's why I think it's important that you all ask questions, because it's not about like me getting like things I want answered. It's about you getting things you want answered.
Tom, I know you have to go. I just want to point out that unfortunately, and I hear a lot of what you're saying, but the strongest moment of all of this today, that's going to stick with me in my heart after today, is when this woman asked you to say Black Lives Matter, and you said, Black Lives Matter, is that what you want me to say?
No, because, and here's the thing, is I feel like the way you were saying it, you're like, I want to hear you say it. Yes, Black Lives Matter. But what I'm telling you is, you can get 9 aldermen to come out here and say, Black Lives Matter, and it doesn't mean anything if they're not going to actually put it into action, right? And that's...
So say that you're going to put it into action.
I'm sorry, what?
So then what are you going to do to actually put those words into
I am going to work to get us a budget that makes sense, right? And that's part of it.
You include defunding the police.
Yeah, I feel like I just said that. And
I
like,
feel like you haven't really. I feel like every time somebody's asked that question, you've either deflected it and said that we need to push that on somebody else, but you do have power, and you're in our city. You have power in our city to actually make things happen. Even if you don't actually successfully do it, you need to commit yourself to trying to defund the
but
police.
here's the thing, that isn't going to change anything, right? Are you committed to the change, getting the change
I'm committed to the change.
That's
but
what I'm
you
saying.
have
Like,
the power to
so
help
how do
change.
we get to the change?
I feel like
all these people here who are doing what they can to like make their voice heard to you, and you're not doing what you can to make your voice heard.
Right, because do you want me to make you a promise that I can't keep, or do you want me to say, I agree with you, I want to walk this path and try and get this done?
Yeah.
Well, if you can't,
That's what I'm saying. I don't
That's what we
understand.
want to hear.
This is, I wish that there was like, here are the boxes, like agree, disagree. And I could be like, I agree with this, I agree with this, I agree with this, I disagree with this, or whatever, right? Like, I don't know, what is like the ideal statement that you would like me to say? If you were in my shoes, what is the thing that you would like to hear me say right now?
Well, I think we want to hear that you are in commitment with us defunding EPD and what you're going to do to commit to that.
Well, I am committed to, when you say defund EPD though, what do you mean? That's what I'm talking about.
Police funding to social services.
But
Every
like,
time
what,
somebody
are
asks
you
you,
talking
like-
the $56 million? Because there's not going to be $56 million.
Yeah, but if you
whatever
agree,
proportion is
Yeah,
possible.
right, and that's what, and
Right, we're
your
not
question about the
arguing
possible
over
is what I'm,
dollars here.
right, but we talk about the possible, like, that's the, like, the journey we need to start, right? What is the possible, right?
No one here is saying that, do whatever's impossible, reallocate 100% of the budget. Whatever is possible is what people want to hear that you're willing to commit
Right,
to.
yes,
and
but
obviously we're not in the trenches right now. We can't.
And, I mean, here's
talk
what I'm,
about
here's,
that, but deflecting towards the trenches is
right,
really help.
and I guess here's what I would prefer that we have this conversation again when we know what the possible is, right? When we're not talking about what would you do if you could, like, let's talk about what can be done, and then let's go from there.
Okay,
And
I have something that can be done. You can advocate for us. You can speak out for what we're telling you. That is just something you can do, and we want to hear you pledge to doing that.
Oh, yeah, but when you say us, you mean like the
Us,
you
this
present
group
here.
of people here right now.
Right.
We just want you to pledge to advocate for us.
For my constituents, yes. For
defunding
the
the
city of
police.
Evanston, yes. That's what I'm telling you. Like, who is us, right?
We.
Like the 50 of you here, or like
You deflect and tangent off of a lot of
Right,
questions
but okay,
instead
but-
of just answering straight.
right. But do you want like? All right. Here's what I'm telling you, man. Like, I'm sorry.
6th Ward constituents are here right now. That is who we are.
Right. Yes, and like, and let's say tomorrow there were to be a different group, right? And they were like, we want you to say, like, something very different. Like,
And
would
if
you
it were
respectfully?
morally incorrect, let's
Yeah.
say the other group of people were advocating for
Right.
something terrible.
Okay. Well, and let me ask you this question, right? Let me ask you this question because, like, I'd like you all to like consider this, right? The reality is, and I've talked to Phoebe about this, like, there are a lot more people up here who will be persuaded, or I don't want to say a lot more people. There are people who will find the economic arguments more persuasive than the social arguments.
You
Does
mean
that
the
matter to
racial?
you if we get to the result? I mean, that's what I'm telling you.
Okay,
Like,
can you advocate for us and to educate those people?
yeah, but that's also your responsibility.
Yeah, also.
I mean, it's your, like, I'll, like I said, I put, like, here's what they're saying out there. Tell me what you think.
But you're in the position to actually do something. I'm not up there. You're up
Right,
there. You said it
and,
yourself.
but why am I, here's what I don't understand. And again, like, I took the statement that was made to city council, right? Because, like, there's a small number of people who watch city council. Like, there's probably a larger, but not huge number of people who read their alderman's newsletter. It was like, hey, I want you to see this. Tell me what you think about this. Like, I'm happy to present things to a wider audience. Like, there's no point in us all being an echo chamber.
Okay, but do you personally understand systemic racism in this country?
In this
Have
country,
you worked
yes.
to
In the city,
educate
yes.
yourself on systemic
But
racism?
let's-
Have you worked to educate your peers
But-
on city council with what you have learned personally? And do you personally advocate for defunding the police? And will you make that voice heard in these meetings?
Yeah. Well,
Yes or no?
I don't,
Yes, yes
but
or
I
no?
don't understand what you're asking me to advocate for.
To advocate for defunding
Right.
the police as they are an oppressive system that has worked to
Right,
further
now,
marginalized
now,
community in
let me ask you, like, are you talking police or Evanston Police specifically?
You are talking about the Evanston Police,
Right.
not the police across the entire country.
Right, no, I know, but here's what's that? No, here's the thing. Like, you all came here, I came out to talk to you. I've got my meeting that I'm supposed to be in, and I didn't schedule. It's not like my important meeting. I'm just saying.
Okay, keep talking about what we're talking about right now. I'm sorry.
Right. I'm sorry.
You're just deflecting and talking.
I'm not. What I'm telling you is, like, your like belief that I have the power to get other people to vote a way that you want them to vote, I think is wrong. The power comes directly from their constituents.
We know, and the pressure's on them over there too. I mean, people are
Right, and so
talking to every ward alderman.
right. So like
Part of becoming part of a change is, is personally like becoming part of the movement. It's not just thinking about what the other people will do, what votes you can stir up.
Right. Well, no, but that's what it comes down to when you're talking about actually getting something implemented.
When you guys sit in your city council meetings and you vote, do you walk in there silently and you place your little vote on a silent piece of paper and you put it into a box and you walk out, or do you have a conversation about it?
No, here's the thing. There aren't conversations. There's speeches made. Do you watch city council meetings? And like, I'm not
I have
asking.
watched city council meetings in the past. I do not go to every single.
I'm just going to tell you, like, if you look at the votes, right? It's very often like 7-2, me and Cicely, 6-3, me, Cicely, and Robin, right? Like the newer people are voting differently than the people who've been there for a long time. Like, not on every issue and not on everything, right? But like, the reality is, you can't get anything done if you're the 3 or the 4. You need.
So you just have 0? Like, I'm like, okay.
No, No, but that's the thing. Like, no, you've got to get 5. You've got to get 5.
So what are you gonna do to get 5?
What are you going to do to get 5?
We're doing it right now.
We're right here.
I don't think you understand how the process works in terms of like.
No, we
it's not.
understand that you have a vote that holds power. That's why we're out
But it
here.
doesn't hold power if it's in the minority.
Okay,
Right.
that doesn't matter. You still have a vote that has power, and so we want to know: do you agree with defunding the police with your vote that holds power? And if not, like, can you just be honest? So then, otherwise, we can try to educate you and show you on our side because we really need to freaking defund the police. So, and even if your vote is a minority, we're doing what we can as citizens, as like college high school.
Defund the police.
Yeah, right. She's like, obviously.
So,
I mean, I think we're talking
we
in
acknowledge
circles.
that it's a process.
I think we can have a better conversation like farther down the road, right?
Vote for why we're standing out here.
Terrified.
Will you use your vote for why we're standing out here? Because we know you have that vote that has power, even if you're in the minority, whatever
Okay,
vote
well,
we're standing
all right.
out here to work on your vote.
Okay, I will say yes and then ask you a question. Right? Will you like work to make what you're standing out here for able to get 5 votes?
We're in every single other way.
No, I know. Like I don't know. I don't know what this conversation
We will
is
come
going.
back with the
Something to sign on. We got board asking every alderman to pledge their vote to defund the police. So if you say yes, you more likely to be in the majority.
But there will be the third vote.
Right. Okay. So all right. I agree to defund the police, but what does it mean until we get to the actual budget process? That's what I'm telling you.
We're asking
Okay.
for support.
Right.
We're just talking about you right now. We're not talking about making sure you guarantee stuff. Okay?
Like what I'm telling you is like in a legislative body, what I vote isn't as relevant as what can get 5 votes.
Right. But
what
we
I
need
mean.
your vote so that you can get 5 votes.
Right.
We have 2
But
already.
we don't have. Yeah, and like, do you really have 2? You have 2 commitments to like something that doesn't exist, and that's
We
the
want
thing.
your commitment, then we can have 3.
But then make it exist. I mean, dude, I think you're going about it backwards, and I'm not trying to be like.
But you only commit to things that you think are gonna win?
No.
Like that doesn't make
But
sense
see,
on
here-
principle. Like we're asking you to commit to something, like to be funding an institution that is fundamentally anti-black, and you're sitting here telling me that you're not gonna commit to something unless it's gonna pass.
But
Like that doesn't make sense.
if you don't
People are
win,
dying.
it doesn't matter. That's what I'm telling you.
People are dying.
It does matter. That's why we're here.
We will write the
I
budget.
understand that you alone cannot make this happen, but I also understand that you have a vote and you can use that vote. And right now you're not even telling me that you're going to use that vote. You're telling me that you're going to use that vote if you think it's something that will get
No,
5
because
votes.
we're not saying like, will you vote on this budget, this ordinance, this like these words, right? You're asking me to like commit to a concept. I'm committed to it, but how do we win it? And that's your job, right?
Yes.
Like, I mean, that's
Yeah, that's
what I'm
Okay,
telling
we just need
like,
you to say you're committed to
But for
defunding the
what
police.
purpose? Like, other than to be like, now we've got 3, but like,
For what
it's
purpose?
not
We
gonna.
just
People
need
are
you to say
dying.
it.
Are you gonna look at me and tell me that they're not dying?
Look, you may or may not be constituents, right? But like, I mean, I've got a constituent here. The person came out and like complained, whoever it was, constituent. Like, right? It's got to be, and you're not gonna. This isn't gonna work if there's not community buy-in.
Okay, in addition to that though, like yes, that was a constituent who came out, but you also said that a lot of the emails and support, or I don't know, like the people fighting against the people who are uncomfortable with defunding the police, your constituents who have reached out to you about that, you said that they don't have nuanced arguments and that they don't, maybe they're afraid of the term defunding because that sounds extremely radical to them. So maybe focus on educating those constituents rather than working with their like poorly developed opinions on what defunding the police means. You have the position to do that. They're emailing you, so instead of emailing them the copy of what people said at the city council meeting, attach your support to that statement as well. That means
I appreciate what you're saying, but here's something I really would challenge you all with. I mean, seriously, you've got to grow this because there's got to be buy-in, right?
But you can
we
No, but it's again like that's do that, right? Like, okay, I mean, like, right? Like, that's what it's got to be. All right, okay, all right. Are we? Like, is there anything else?
I
you
just
all
have one more
like,
question. So obviously the 6th ward is pretty financially stable. It's one of the more privileged communities in Evanston. So would you ever advocate, even if like the majority of the 6th ward is voting for one thing, would you ever advocate for some of the less privileged wards in Evanston?
on what? Like, give me an example.
Like it's some sort of reallocation of resources or wealth or some sort of reparations on coming from our majority white community into other communities in Evanston.
Like, do you have like a thing you would use as an example? Like, or I mean, because here's the thing. I think that there is like wealth. I mean, I guess I don't. You're asking me like, would you support this thing, and I'm not telling you what it is?
Okay,
Like,
Do you support reparations in Evanston?
I support reparations in Evanston. I voted
And so
against
as
the plan because there wasn't a
alderman
plan. Here's what I'm telling you. Like, like the details super matter more than like idea, right? Like
I'm
the
just
details are
gonna say it
where
simply,
it
I'm
is.
not going to go too detailed. Simply put, reallocating the police budget into parks and recreation, health, education, not only of the six wards, but also of other communities, other wards.
Right, but okay, let's use Parks and Recreation as an example. No offense, like, right? Oh, yeah. But okay. So like, what does that mean? Like, a bunch of smaller parks without programming? No. I'm not. I'm saying like.
Detailed, I would actually want to talk about education rather than parks.
Right, but that's a different budget. It's a different budget. Different government.
The parks are not a shift,
No, like education's a different budget. Like those are two different governments. The city has no role in education. Like there is no, you know what I mean? So yes, like on a scale, but we kind of do that with the property taxes, where the percentage is like 42 to 65.
I feel like this is getting technical. We can get
Right, and technical is like where it's at though. Like that's what I'm telling you. Like the details, right? Like the libraries are a separate board, and then we approve whatever their tax levy request is. So the city doesn't have any like day-to-day operational authority over the library. That's a separate government team. That's a board.
Okay.
So,
you support
And I'm like, let's coordinate all that.
the police budget into the budget of parks and recreation, libraries, education. Does anyone here agree with me on that? Because is that a somewhat simply put, gives a little bit more detail into what we're trying to do?
Right, but what I'm saying is like if the city were to defund the police and put that money into other things, it wouldn't be the library because that's a separate government. It wouldn't be the schools because that's separate, right? It would be city programs. And that's what I'm saying. Like, so what specific city programs would be? I mean, I really encourage everyone to look at Cahoots.
City run.
And see if that's something we
managed
can
by the city
implement.
manager's office.
I'm sorry.
The reparations fund is managed by the city
Right.
manager's office. You could literally just say that you're going to funnel funds directly from police into the reparations.
But into what? But what are the funds being spent for? Like, we don't have any like programs for what they're being spent for.
I mean, that's where it gets. That's where we want your support to try to figure out what we're going to do.
But like, so you would take whatever comes out of the police, put that into reparations, take away the $10 million like agreed upon cap, blow that out.
Well, are you talking? Wait, so we're talking about the $10 million cap right now? Well, it's not anywhere near that cap right now.
Right.
And the projected budget is like $700,000 a year maximum. So it's going to be at least 10 years before we get to that $10 million cap. So that $10 million cap doesn't really mean that much. First of all, what are the other sources? Like, you're saying this as if, like, the way budgets work is, I watched in on one of the reparations subcommittee meetings, and you don't necessarily have to decide all the specifics of every policy beforehand because that would be tedious and ridiculous. The way that they have set this up, you get the money and then you figure out what you want to do with it. Other places have done it different ways, and this is the way that Evanston is doing
Right, and I think it's out of sequence. I think you have the program. I think you should come up with a program and then figure out how to fund it. That's the way I would do things.
All right, but what are you going to do to try and figure out what the program is and figure out how to fund it?
That's the reparations subcommittee's job right now.
But
and then it comes to the council, right? And then it's like we either yes or no on
can't-
whatever they come up with. I'm not on that subcommittee.
But I'm not on that subcommittee, and I'm emailing the people, and I'm talking to them about it, and I'm going to the meetings. Why can't you, like, what is your stance? Like, do you have beliefs? Like you haven't been talking about, like, any beliefs. You've just been saying, like, oh, let's see what happens, like, on this specific issue. Like, who knows what'll happen? Like, what do you believe? What do you want to happen with the funding?
With the
like, what's
reparations
your
money?
goal?
I would
Like,
like
what
to
is
see
your
it
ideal Evanston look like?
sustainably spent, right? That's the thing that we're.
What does that
Well,
mean?
okay, I'll just give you an example, right? Like, so, like, the thing that's, like, the most concrete proposal right now would be, like, the $25,000 housing grant, or it would be, like, a forgivable loan, right? Okay, so that's great. But, like, realistically, the, like, largest barrier to staying in Evanston is the affordability over the long term. So if your property taxes are $7,000 a year, that $25,000 grant may allow you to acquire a house, or helps you, like, get over the hump to do it. But, like, it's not sustainable. You're not staying. The reason people leave, like, long-time residents, isn't, like, the acquisition cost. It's the, like, ongoing cost, right? And, like, police are part of that. Like, pensions, I mean, like, are super boring, but look at how much our pension stuff is. Fire and police pensions are, and, like, they're constitutionally protected. There's nothing you can do to get out.
You're talking about, like, very specific things, and I want to ask you, like, what do you want the police budget to look like in the, like, ideally, like, not talking about, like, what you think might happen or could happen, like, what is your vision? Like, do you have any, like
where I want the
what
money
you want
to be?
it to be?
What amount of money I want it to be?
What
Like,
amount of money you want to be in the police? Like, how do you view this issue personally?
Okay, well, here's what I think, like, the, like, police services are, right? Like, there certainly is a time and place for, like, badge and gun police, right? That's a thing that's needed. I mean, some people may not believe that at all.
So that's helpful that you just said that, because, like, that's something that a lot of people disagree with.
Right, and I do not disagree with that. I think that, like, the reality is, in a society where, like, there is a ton of people who are armed, like, there is a time and place for armed response, right? But that doesn't need to be every call, right? Like, one of the suggestions I got from somebody was, like, this is something we're going to talk about, because I was saying we're talking about selling assets. We have one police station downtown. We could probably do better to have, like, satellite police stations that aren't like the badge and gun police, like some polo shirt police, who are, like, community service people. A lot of the calls up here are neighbor disputes that do not require an armed response. They require someone with some conflict resolution skills and, like, de-escalation skills, right? So, like, how do you put that in, like, the dispatcher's toolbox when they get a call? Because that's part of the issue, is, like, who's responding, what's their skill set, and how do you match those up? And it's not a matter of, like, matching them up because of who's working on whatever shift. Like, there need to be people, that needs to be figured out on the front end, right? Like, I do think we could probably do well to have, like, community service offices that kind of function more like there's a police presence, there's a, like, building permit, you know what I mean? Like, kind of your city stop for, like, city stuff you need, your lawn waste, like, whatever, like, spaces where people go to interact with the city where it's not, like, built-in adversarial. Because that's the thing with the way that the police station is. You walk in, like, you gotta get buzzed in, there's it's a building that wasn't designed for its purpose. Like, that's another thing. So we gotta also look at, like, the physical buildings where we do our stuff. And that's, like, that costs money. I mean, like, that was, like, the Robert Crown issue, was, like, we never addressed smaller things over and over, and then we had this huge expense, and over the course of 50 years, it will have been a great investment. But right now, it's, like, a huge amount of money that's outlaid, right? And so now we have to decide, like, what other things are we gonna put in, and, like, what is it? Like, I mean, what does your ideal police force look like? Sounds like ours are different.
Well,
I mean, that's, you could
I think
believe that. I mean, that's like a valid
Somebody else
position.
wants to give their ideal, I mean.
But I mean, like, like Glencoe, which, like, is allowed to do it because they're a village, not a city, they have public safety. They don't have police and fire and paramedics. They're all, like, one person. Everyone is cross-trained as a policeman, a fireman, or a police officer, a firefighter, and a paramedic, right? So, like, you just call public safety, and the same person's showing up no matter what. And then, like, they have that skill set. But, like, those people are expensive. That's the other thing. Like, when we talk about defunding, are we willing to pay more for higher trained people, right? And so it doesn't come across, it's not defunding, it's more money, but, like, are the outcomes significantly better because of the way that we do it, right? Like, that's another question, right? So, like, the answer may not be defunding. It may be more money, like, but increasing the umbrella of what we consider to be, like, the police budget.
see, that's like the opposite of what we want to do, actually. We don't want to expand the police, we want to dismantle the police. I understand what you're saying. The community does need some sort of emergency response team in case of an emergency. Yes, that's true. So maybe dismantle the police and form something small like that, and then the budget would go to other types of areas.
Right.
Rather than just making the police like more trained or putting more money into like the same system. I don't.
Yeah, and I guess maybe I'm not articulating it well. Or I'm
The
sorry, go
problem
ahead.
is that like the very idea, like the notion of policing, like is anti-black. So when you say you want to like expand the police force to do all these other things that we don't think of as policing, it's still harmful because you're still having to like call 911, or you're like still thinking of as calling someone related to the police. So like the idea is like make it not related to the police. So it could be exactly what you're describing, but like it needs to be like rebranded and like reframed and started from the ground up in a way that like isn't rooted in anti-blackness, which can't happen if you're like, oh, let's make the police budget bigger and train them more. It needs to be different.
Right. Well, and I'm not this is an example, right? We had like victim service advocates got moved from the police budget to the health department, right? So let's say they were in under the police department budget. Like victim advocates are like, that's a like skill we want. And if they're under the police department, they're like a police budget item. They increase the police budget, but it's not like increasing the amount of policing. You know what I'm saying? Like how do we do it? And like that. And I'm saying this like I too need to learn more about cahoots. Like I'm not like you guys all look at cahoots, but like how that thing works looks like that's like the model where like dispatchers have the option to call bring in a social worker, a firefighter, a paramedic, or a police officer, and like they have a higher level of training to make the decision, because it also puts a lot more on them to make the right call, like on who to send out. But like they're finding those are better outcomes.
Well, Tom, we ask you to please do keep looking that up. Please keep educating yourself about what you think is important and what you want.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I said, I think.
Just 1 second. I'm a constituent of Tom, and you're all banging on him for his honesty. Now over here we have some obscenities.
Okay, we can talk about this.
Sorry, I just
Some guy,
That's it.
hold on a second.
Yeah,
Some
we're
guy
aware.
obviously concerned about his appendage, and then we have a number of the F word. If you guys want to make an impression, I would suggest not doing that in Evanston.
Thank you for the tone police.
For the what?
The tone police.
The tone police.
Tone
Oh, so you'd
police.
like to do this? He could have called the police on you
Yeah. Well, here,
for writing obscenities outside this house. He didn't, did he?
I appreciate it. That's the thing.
He's got young kids.
It's okay, Desmond, it's fine. It's
Black
fine, just
people
take it
have
off.
young kids that
They're
are
just asking
dying.
why there's squares all over their front. Just
Oh.
take it off, it's gone.
All right.
Not a big deal.
Let me say two things, please. A Vietnam protester, 20 years from now, none of you people will know each other. Okay?
And we
Bang
won't
the
know
drum
you.
slowly. Bang the drum slowly. 20 years from now, you won't know each other.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, thanks, Ben. I do. I
appreciate the Saturday.
No, thank you, sir. I mean, I do think that illustrates like the need to like expand the base of support, right? I believe, knowing him as a neighbor, he agrees with you guys on a lot of the things you're saying, right? But like that, I don't care about swear. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, that was the perfect opportunity where you could have advocated for us in a way that if someone comes up to you disagreeing with our point, we asked you earlier if you could commit to advocating for our cause, defund the police, Black Lives Matter, and that was a perfect example of something you would have
You could have advocated for yourself. I don't understand why it's my job to persuade people to your point of view. That's your job, and I'm happy to help give you a platform to do it and expose you to as many people.
and said that you could have called the police on black people who are here, and you didn't say anything.
Well,
You said thank you, sir.
What do you want me to do, man? I mean, like, that's what I'm telling you. Like, this. Here's what I think is the. Yeah. Oh, okay. Here's what I think is the problem. Like, you're gonna have to grow this, right, beyond your age group, and like that's the only way it's gonna be sustainable. I'm telling you, like the only way you're gonna get wider community support is by doing that. I mean, like, we're gonna have the same conversation over and over. Yes.
If I bring like my mom and my grandparents next time, will you commit to defunding the police?
Where do your mom and grandparents live? I mean, I don't understand. Here's what I'm telling you. Like,
In your ward.
there's no thing where it's like, here's what we're voting on. We vote on this yes or no. That's the point you got to get to. Like, and not you, us. We have a responsibility to get there.
So are you a part of us? Are you a part of believing that we should defund the police with a strategic plan? Do you personally believe Black Lives Matter? Do you
I
stand
personally
for what
believe
we're
Black
talking
Lives
about?
Matter.
So
Absolutely.
if you're asking us to continue advocating for our point and to continue growing our movement, will you be a part of that? And will you have conversations with this man who came up here? And you should be like, hey, actually these students, these young people have a freedom of speech. This is their cause. Maybe you should sit and listen.
Yeah.
Like, will you be
Well,
a
he
part
did
of
sit
that?
and listen. I mean, he did, you know, and
Yeah.
like, I mean, here's the thing, man, and I,
Well,
like,
you do that with every other person.
like, look, my wife is absolutely correct to be like, hey, look, we got little kids, we're gonna get the F word off of our I mean, like, and I personally don't care about swear words, right? Like, but,
And Rainey.
yeah, absolutely, and I stand behind it, dude. Like, I mean, like, I'm, like, here's the other thing, you know, let me leave you with this, but I'm happy to continue the conversation, right? I think, like, you're believing that, like, by virtue of being elected, everyone's bullshitting you. Right? And that's not how it is. There's some people who are, and I can tell you who they are, and you can figure it out for yourselves. I know. But like, yeah. But like, I didn't get into this because I wasn't committed to trying to make Evanston better, man. My wife and I grew up here. We've got 4 kids. We're committed to living here, especially when you live like in this part of town where like Skokie's just there, Wilmette's just there. Like your life is not any different if you move across Crawford in terms of like, you can still go to the like, you know what I mean? Like living in Evanston is a commitment, but like part of that is like, you've got to make it work for like everybody. And I don't know.
That's exactly what we're trying to do.
And am I stopping you somehow? Like I'm saying, like he's part of everybody. Whoever came out on the other before is part of everybody. Like, and they don't have to agree with you, but they have to be on board with whatever comes out of like how the city is governed and policed. And I'm trying to, you got to get there.
What's the definition of your job? Like what?
It's a part-time job, right? That's the first thing, right? So like, where like my job is to vote on policy stuff to be implemented by the city manager. In a council manager system, the day-to-day operations are run by the city manager. To your question before, that's why the city manager is more important than the mayor or any alderman or anybody else. There's full-time staff who actually run stuff. You say like, we want trees. No. So my job is to listen to my constituents, which again, like you are part of that group. And I'm like saying, there's another forum on Tuesday. We could do it then. Like, but what I'm asking you to do is have specific questions so we can go from like where we are here to get to where we want to be, which is at the end. Here's how we're going to do this, right? Like the how we're going to do this part is the hardest part, and I don't think there's been any like movement forward there yet, and it's not the time for it. I mean, it's not the time. There's always a time for it, but like that's not what we need to. You need to be there when it's budget time, right? So start it now, do it now. But like, I like challenge you, like small c, respectfully, to like have really specific pointed questions this week. Send them to me, and I will like they will be answered on Tuesday, and then we can start our conversation from like a place of very specific, like real, like how many police personnel could be dismissed like contractually in the next 5 years, right? Or whatever it is. Whatever questions you want answered, let's get the answers. I mean, like that's, and then we go from there.
I get that you want to give us advice on like how to grow the movement and you're telling us like how to make this more sustainable. And I think we all know like we want to get as many people saying Black Lives Matter, whatever as possible. But what we really need to make sustainable and what is a sustainable solution to Black people literally being murdered and police brutality is defunding and then dismantling the police. So if you could just commit to that.
Right, but what's your timetable on that? Like realistically, a realistic timetable for doing that. And I don't agree with dismantling the police. I think like that's what I'm telling you. Like that is not like bad police. And yeah, fine. You know what? Take it, dude. I've tried to give you as much time as I can. I've got like literally a meeting. I really like. I'm not trying to be like I gotta go, but like the meeting is happening. One thing in my job is to go to these meetings on Monday night, right? But like I'm happy to continue the conversation. I think people should really be like going after the ones who are like shut you down, won't talk, won't listen, won't work towards like a workable solution.
That's fine. Don't we ask now that you do whenever your meeting is over, you do some research as to like why the argument that there are bad cops is like not valid.
Look, but okay.
Like as we continue to educate ourselves on the budget, will
perfect. I tell you what, I'll do
continue to
that, and I
educate
agree.
yourself on
Like,
policing?
but here's what I'm saying. Like, if your position is like no police, I don't think that's like a mainstream position for Evanston.
That's fine.
And I'm
I'll
like happy to be found wrong, right? Like.
Right, so I'm asking that you do the research on that. If we're gonna sit here and say, yes, we're gonna do the research on the city budget, like we want you to continue to educate yourself.
Okay,
on police.
I'll make you a deal, and all right, like I've asked for you to submit questions like that are in like sufficient detail that I can submit them for like in the context of, you know what I mean, not just like they need to be granular enough that I like specific with the contracts or whatever you want to do in Evanston, right? I'll do that. Do you have my email address, I assume? Send me what you want me to have read by the time we talk on Tuesday. Is that deal?
Is that the best way to do email?
Yes, absolutely. I would say this is probably not like the most sustainable way to do this all the time. I would prefer email, like, because that's the other thing. It's a part-time job, and I've got 4 kids. Like, you know what I mean? I'm happy to have these conversations.
But you volunteered for the job.
But no, right. I also volunteer to be a father, and like what I'm telling you is like I'm not going to take phone calls at like crazy hours a night. But I'm happy to have conversations. Like I'm out here. Find out how long my colleagues were out here.
So like
right.
if you
I
assume you have a computer. If you just like go inside and type policing and then space anti-black, like you're gonna find articles. Like, and I can send you stuff, but like I just ask that you like take it upon yourself to educate yourself. And like, of course, like people can send you stuff. Like I'm 18, I can send you an email, but like you're a lot older than me, and like you have the ability to educate yourself as well.
Right. And I say this like respectfully to all of you. You all are eligible to run for this job. Like it's not my job to keep forever. If you want to run for alderman, it takes 80 signatures.
But I didn't sit here and tell you that I want to do it.
What I'm telling you, I'm like.
I can run as much as I can, like whatever I can run when that time comes, it comes. Like that's your job right now.
Right. No, I agree. Right. And like so, I'm out here doing it right now. Right. Like I'm listening to you. I'm trying to get to like a place where we can have something that. Like you're just not gonna be satisfied with anything I say, and that's fine. Right.
I'm not going to be satisfied with, yeah, you're right. I'm not going to be
that's
satisfied
fine.
with what you say. I'm satisfied with what you do.
Right.
That's the difference.
Okay. All right. Great. Look, I feel like this has been a good conversation. You can all walk away being like, fuck that guy. He sucks. Fine. That's fine too. But like, you have to admit, I came out, I talked to everybody. Like, and if you have, and I'm not also like, don't send me any more. If you have specific questions, send them. Right. Like, I mean, I will tell you though, like, just the form emails, I think is a bad way to go in terms of getting answers. It doesn't mean don't do it. Doesn't mean you don't have like a First Amendment right to do it. Like it's just things get buried in there, right? And you're not going to get specific answers. So that would be my only suggestion when you reach out to me or to my colleagues is that it be like a unique question. That I'll just leave it. That's advice. Like I've gotten your advice to me. That's my advice to you. That's how I would recommend proceeding. But like I'm happy to answer questions and I'm happy to work towards a solution, right? But like. It's got to be a solution that people are going to buy in on. That's the deal. 5 votes, man. And ideally 9, but 5 votes is what you're going to need to get. All right, are we all? I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You have a cute kid in the police car.